And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics.
Now we move to our Android Basics section, and this week saw the release of Android 15 Beta 1, and I think it's going to be quite an exciting release, this one. Warren, there's particularly good news for Braille users, isn't there?
Yeah, so we're excited to see, Android 15 Beta 1 come through because this is something we have been pining for. And, unlike last year, how many developer previews did we have last year? Did we have like 3 of them? Or maybe was it only 2? Frankly, don't remember. I know that last year was quite a very bad year for Android with Android 14 and all of that. Now, this year, though, it seems like things are moving on track like it ought to be. And the integration of the heat support for Braille devices, displays that have that capability is a great news indeed. So really, we're glad to see that happening, that we have that support in there. Now, the trouble is if one is not connecting, you really would need to wait for maybe like a firmware from, the manufacturer and all of that. TalkBack or Android 15 Beta 1 as it is still comes with TalkBack 14.2. Even though in the what's new that is out there, it says it support heat devices and all of that. But if it's not working for you, I'm sure that it won't be too long before this becomes the reality. But I'm glad to see it come through.
Yeah, and what this is the human interface device. It's the way that some modern displays, particularly humanware, connect over Bluetooth. And there was a problem with the Android Bluetooth stack, which meant they didn't work, even though Google had kind of signed up to the standard. So if you had an Android phone and one of these displays, you'd been left probably for a good couple of years since things like the recent range of Brailliants were released, the humanware incarnation of the NLSE reader. You wouldn't be able to use them with the Android phone. Eventually, as Warren said, a few more bits and pieces might need to drop in place, but Android 15 will support those. So that I think should be excellent news.
And just like, betas and all of that, you got to be cautious. If you only have one device, probably maybe not a good idea for you to jump on. However, if you want to try it, you can. Of course, it supports from Pixel 5a through the Pixel 8 Pro. Those are the devices that this supports. And like every beta or, especially in the OS iteration, there's not much new things that will be here, but some of those things that are in here are like addressing the cellular connectivity and all of that, and then also there's some other new things that makes it possible to do things on the home screen, like on the lock screen and all of that. Those are some of the things that we see here that this new beta brings to us. We'll see what happens in Beta 2, but edge to edge apps display, because sometimes, especially if you're on a tablet, for example, and you have an app and it's not spanning across the whole edges, but that is fixed to where developers can take advantage of that. So natively, that is now available on this beta, and developers could just make their apps to take advantage of that. That's one of those things that are here that has come to us via this new beta update.
Yeah, and as you say, some interesting security things. Cellular, you'll be able to see if your cellular network is not encrypted. You will. I think there's a nice app archiving thing. So if you do want to archive your apps, it won't just archive Play Store apps. It will archive apps you might have installed on your phone from somewhere else. So that should work a little bit better as well. And yeah, lock screen widgets, another one. People have missed those, so being able to do that. So some interesting things But I think for us, the HID support, the HID support is the biggie for those modern displays. But particularly, it seems to be the humanware ones that have embraced that standard. So that once all the bits and pieces are fallen in place, whether that's the firmware manufacturers, talkback 15 or future Android 15 beta iterations, once all that's come in place, come release day, that should be good.
Warren, you said the 5A was gonna get this. I thought it was the 6 series and on. Is that wrong?
No, the 5A is part of it. 5A has been part of it. So, what happens, though, and the reason is like the regular 5, came like almost a year before the 5A came through. So, the 5A is part of it. If you have the 5A, you do qualify for getting Android 15. So, if you have one and you want to enroll it, you can enroll it in the beta. Another thing, though, that I like that comes with this beta is that you can finally, pick your default wallet app. I know this was possible in the past, but you had to go through, jump through a lot of hoops now. Then to get it to use something other than the Google one as your default. But with this beta, you can choose which wallet app you want. Maybe you have some gift cards or maybe ticket apps or whatever that you would rather make that your default than the Google app. Now, this is simplified to where you can actually just go to that payment method and easily choose the one that you want instead of running through hoops in order to be able to change it. So that's a nice thing to see coming through. Another thing that I like, though, that talks about the encrypted contact information. If you have several contacts on your phone and you fear their information being stolen, then this will be the feature for you. Android 15 Beta 1 now will put your contacts behind a wall of encryption. So it's a nice thing to see. I don't know. I don't know my contacts. I guard my contacts jealously, but I don't think anyone's going to try to get my
Yeah.
contacts. But you never can tell.
And just so you know, if you encrypt your contacts and you still, as soon as you log into Facebook, you say, "Yeah, here are my contacts." Facebook will still get your contacts. Like it's just keeping apps on your phone, I guess, from accessing that information unless you give them permission.
Another thing that I think I like is you know how it is that sometimes maybe some malware is lurking in the background, and so now the activity would be brought to the forefront so you can see and knock it out if there's such a thing going on. So Google is stepping up in uh, a security area here, especially because we keep hearing, oh, Android devices are this and that and bad, malware. So those little malware that would hide and try to pretend to use an active, regular, bona fide app to do the activity for them will now be able to catch those little buggers.
Yeah, but I hope that in the name of security, this is not going to impact the screen readers that we have, the third party ones, especially that it seems that Google is not acting well with Jisho those days. So yeah, I hope that they will not do this in the name of security because this would be something very bad.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's
agree.
something I worry about with every new Android release. Like they've been making it more and more difficult to get it up and running. You have to for side loaded apps, you have to go into app info to allow restricted access and that sort of thing. So every time, it's like you hold your breath every time they come out with a new version. It's like, hopefully they won't break it.
Yeah, restrictions are increasing. Actually, if you compare Android 13 to Android 14, even with the restricted settings, in Android 13 you could just grant it one time the permission. In Android 14, you need to grant the permission each time you update the app, unless you use third-party installer. So yeah, I think that they are just going gradually to the point that it will have an impact on third parties. So.
I hear where you're coming from, especially though about the confused screen reader. The commentary screen reader is a matter of concern, but I don't think that they would block it though. Uh, I would like to believe that somehow maybe the developer could just make sure that this is not blocked. And better still though, I hope he brings this thing to the Play Store so that knuckleheads like me also would give it a try. And so we'll see what happens. But I don't, I do hope that this doesn't become something that some of our listeners or users of commentary lose access to it. That will be bad.
I mean, when I was talking to the developer of Synaptic, they said that one of the reasons they weren't on the Play Store was because of kind of the admin and keeping up to date and all the bureaucratic hoops Google makes you jump through when you have an app that requires that accessibility permission now. I mean, I think they're reviewing that because they're realizing that the screen reader part of that app anyway, the restricted setting is kind of causing them issues. So they might. I guess they might have to change it, but I think that was why they weren't. Obviously, that might not be the reason for Jushro not being on it, but all the hoops that Google makes you jump through apparently make that look relatively unattractive. You can see why, because obviously they're getting some of the most giving permissions that it has. So they might want to protect it, but clearly it puts people off.
In the same breath, though, I think that some people have taken advantage of this, and hence the reason why we have malware sometimes is because they abuse this system, and so it's hard to have a balance to the whole thing if you look at it properly.
Yeah, but you could add restrictions and implement the security things that you want, and at the same time give people the freedom to say, okay, we don't want that. So in that, um, like if people decide, okay, I want this to run on my farm, so this person should just hold the responsibility about it. So Google shouldn't be like the big brother who is watching our things all of the time and watching what we are doing and trying to protect us. Actually, there should be some sort of protection, but there should be also the freedom of choice.
Yeah, we're grown-ups. Let us make our own decisions. Apple treats their users like babies. Let us make our own decisions.
I hear that, but you and I know what we're doing, but there are lots of people out there that do not know what they're doing. And even though I don't buy that argument, but it's true. And hence the reason why the SD card, I keep going back to the SD card when Google said they didn't want to implement it because they said people wouldn't know the difference between an SD card and internal storage. So you go figure.
We don't really believe them, though. They just want to sell cloud storage. So
Exactly.
that's not really why they didn't implement SD card storage, is it? It's that they can sell you lots of Google Drive storage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be like, to me, Windows kind of gets a balance, right? There's a store. They will make it a little bit difficult to do stuff, but you can, if you know what you're doing, you can go and turn off all the difficult stuff. Disable user account control entirely if you want to. So I don't quite know why they don't just do that and stop, as Sean says, trying to baby folk along and build a semi-wall garden.